India is one of the fastest growing markets for Mercedes-Benz India. The brand has big plans for this market. And talking to me about how the Indian market is panning out, we have Matthias Lührs, the region overseas head of Mercedes-Benz. Matthias, thanks so much for talking to us. Clearly, India, it's a fast growing market overall. Mercedes, a small base still, but from what I understand, a lot of potential. Double-digit growth in the past and looking forward, double-digit growth going ahead. So just your thoughts on your kind of outlook for India.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here in India, and I haven't been here for 3 years after COVID. It's amazing to see how bustling the economy is, how things are moving ahead. And we are very, very happy with our business. We had the best year ever last year, as you said, 41% growth. Therefore, India being the fastest growing market for Mercedes-Benz in overseas. And our plans are to further grow and to expand on our leadership position among the top 20 brands. Therefore, we are very happy. We have good products. We have, I think, the right strategy. Also, after having changed to the new business model, meaning an agency model, we can see that it's all coming together, and therefore we are very hopeful and happy to see the development for Mercedes going into the future.
And just looking at the base, the overall luxury market, it's still quite small given the size of the overall Indian market. What do you think the challenges are for it to really grow at a more, let's say, a pace which is of other more mature markets? Do you still think there are challenges in terms of price, a little bit of infrastructure, or do you think this trajectory can be maintained for the next couple of years?
Well, first of all, obviously every market is different, and you can't compare the one market with the other one. Therefore, we obviously adapt to the current situation, the current regulation in India, and we think with putting more products and the right products into the market, we will further expand and grow. Again, to compare this with other markets, it's quite difficult. Obviously, if prices would be lower, we would sell more cars, but the situation is like it is with the current situation that we are facing here.
Right. Interesting point you said that obviously the prices, if they were lower, you would sell more cars. Is there any view on, let's say, the current taxation levels? Do you think it's a bit too high? Obviously, there are no real FTAs between India and Europe right now. But do you think pricing is one key factor that is limiting growth?
Well, obviously, always pricing is a factor, and we are more towards the upper end. We have defined together with our board of management that we are going up luxury. We are especially looking towards the top end market. We call it the TEF segment, where we have grown 61% last year. So India and its customers are the perfect base for this top end growth. Obviously, you touched on FTAs. We are currently, as Europeans, negotiating with India, and we think and we do hope that this will come to a good situation going forward, and therefore obviously with a free trade agreement we have a new ball game. But obviously at this point in time it's not up to us to decide whether this is going to be successful or not. We are very open to this FTA negotiations, and if it comes, then obviously we have a new situation which could possibly benefit also ourselves.
Right, and you raise another point that the way to grow the market is also to have more product. Where can we see more product being introduced? Because from what I understand is the low end of your range is something which you may not be focusing on at a later stage, to move into more profitable segments. So just in view of that, where do you think more products are required to grow the market? And also the fact that if you do vacate the lower end of your range, would that be a challenge, let's say, in markets like India, where that's a stepping stone into the brand?
Yeah, first of all, we are not abandoning the entry models, the compact segment. We are just re-emphasizing our compact segment, so we will continue to offer compact cars in India as we have done in the past. there might be looking a little bit different, and please allow me, we can't disclose what it is going to be, but we will continue with compact cars in India. On the other hand side, as we can see worldwide, but also particularly in India, the SUV segment is growing, and we are bringing more and more SUVs into India. We will still have the new E-Class coming in the next couple of years, but particularly if you touch on products, we are very keen with our strategy of electrifying our product portfolio and bringing more electric cars. We have had a good take up for the first electric vehicles, the EQC, the EQB, the EQS 580, and I can disclose to you that we are going to bring 4 additional EQ vehicles in the next 8 to 12 months. So just stay tuned, and I think we'll have a very good product proposition for our customers.
So clearly a lot of those would be SUVs because EQS SUV could be a possibility because clearly you mentioned that SUVs is where your focus is going to be. So will we see let's say the majority of sales coming eventually from SUVs, because over here the sedans are quite a backbone of your range as well, and do you see that trend going forward where SUVs will eventually overtake sedans in terms of your own share?
Yeah, I mean, again, we adapt to the market needs, and we can see the trend worldwide towards SUVs, and we see that also in our range. So more and more we have a higher share of SUVs, and I assume that this will also be the case here in India. And you correctly said we will most probably bring an EQE SUV and EQS SUV without saying when exactly, but obviously these are perfect products for the Indian market.
Looking at electrification, in Europe they signed a kind of a dead sentence for it, 2035. I mean, is there a worry within the company that that it is so final because it's still a long way off for sure, but it's really a commitment? And where does ICE stand in your portfolio for global markets? So is it fair to assume that you've not quite as a global manufacturer said that you will stop making ICE cars completely as well?
Well, it's a very valid question. We have changed our strategy last year from electric first to electric only. So yes, we have decided that by the next decade, 2030 and beyond, we will most probably only see electric vehicles being developed and produced and sold by Mercedes-Benz. At this point in time, obviously, we start from a very low base, but we see a 25% share in India for electric vehicles for Mercedes-Benz within the next 4 years. And then we have to see how this develops further. But obviously, until 2030, 2032, we will still have the ICE vehicles. And if we see that in many markets we still need to continue with ICE products, we will at least look at it. But for the time being, we have decided electric only by 2030 and beyond.
So that's interesting. So what could happen is that you may not develop all new ICE vehicles, but it could be that the last of the ICE vehicles will have a very, very long life cycle. Especially for, let's say, some markets which still require them. Is that a possibility?
That is a possibility. Again, we are flexible. We still have 8 to 10 years to go, so we can make our plans accordingly. But from today's perspective, it could be that the ICE vehicles will have a long lifetime for the last tenor, so to speak.
Right. And looking at the Indian market where you said 25%, have you been encouraged by the rate of adoption of electric vehicle EVs in India? Is it faster than what you thought, or is it as per expectations?
I would say it is as per expectation. We have had a good success, a good take-up rate with the first cars, and now with more cars being offered into the market, with more infrastructure, with more charging, where we invest ourselves as well, I think we will convince more customers to take this fantastic product proposition, as we have seen also a very successful development over the time in Europe and the US and other markets.
Right. And just looking at the top end of the market, AMG, which again I believe Mercedes has done some good numbers in India, a clear a demand for it, especially post-COVID, where people want to the YOLO effect. Do you see, at that level globally, how is the demand for AMG panning out? And especially with electrification coming in, do you feel that right now people want the last of the ICE vehicles, the good old V8s and all, which are still there before they go out, or do you feel that with electrification the demand will go even further up?
Look, as you mentioned, AMG is a very important sub-brand in the Mercedes-Benz portfolio, and it is very successful. We had the best year ever last year, so we can still see this take-up rate for AMG going forward. And also the AMG product portfolio will be changed into fully electric over the years and over the time. And we are currently already offering plug-in hybrids and electric cars as AMG, as our competitors as well. So I think we will see good development on AMG also once we change into electrification. We also have to say that more and more customers are wanting that the product proposition follows the green trend and a sustainability strategy. And therefore I think the times where people are asking V8s and V12s will diminish over the time, as we can see already today. The young modern customers want sustainable products, and that is definitely the electric version of those.
So that's interesting. So what you're saying is the good old petrol head who wanted V8s and V12s, now no more V12s, but you think that is diminishing, or is there still a core market of those who really want those last of a breed, so to speak?
Yeah, obviously there's always petrol heads who would love to have a V8 and V12, and why not? They have always been a very successful product proposition from Mercedes-Benz, but the amount and the segment is diminishing and getting smaller, but for the time being we still offer these products, but over the time we feel that this will diminish.
Right. And just coming back to the Indian market, we've seen a lot of regulation changes which obviously have impact on business case. I just wanted your view of the regulatory environment, especially given the fact that you're still under 20,000 units, which is still quite small, 18,000 units. Does that become a challenge when you have a lot of regulation changes, because with a small scale it becomes more difficult to implement?
Look, we have different regulations in all markets all over the world. The regulations in China are different to
China has a lot of scale, which
India to Brazil, to many, Indonesia, which has a very high population as well. So obviously we adapt to the local circumstances as we are proposing and entering a market, or if we are in a market. Obviously, when regulations change quickly, it makes life more difficult, because the adaptation time to the new regulations is more difficult. This is quite obvious. This is for any product, for any industry. Therefore, obviously, we would love to have a little bit more time to adapt to quick changes, but we will adapt anyhow.
Right. And again, another challenge of the Indian market, which a lot of global OEMs face, especially low volume, largely CKD operations, is just profitability and margins. Now, clearly India is seen as maybe a good and growing market, but really on the margin side, it's one of the most challenging out of a lot of countries. So, just wanted to get your sense how you find India in this perspective. What needs to be done, and finally, is it just a function of scale, which typically would lead to better margins?
Well, look, we are quite happy with our profitability as we speak. Yeah, we are going further up in terms of our product offer, as I said before, towards luxury. And last year has been the best year ever in terms of profitability for both us and our dealer partners. Therefore, you can see that it is possible with the product portfolio, with the size of our business, to have a very good situation. Obviously, once we can sell more cars in a more profitable way, not in a more profitable, but by having more scale, obviously it would grow further. But this is obviously up to the situation, the regulations, and we have to go by the situation, by the regulation of each particular market.
Right. So clearly, I think what the strategy is not running after volume, but running after let's say, products at the higher end, which typically come with better margins, and to have a more sustainable business for yourself and your dealer partner? Is this the way forward?
Yeah.
I mean, you are number one still, but is it fair to say it's not just volumes, it's even, let's say, the profitability, which is probably even more important?
Yeah, I mean, one of our 6 pillars in our strategy is profitable growth, and it has both into it, meaning growth, but at the same time profitable. And I think we just don't want to push volume, sheer volume, like other brands might do it. Yeah, for us it's more important to cater for the needs of our customers, to be luxurious, to offer the right product proposition that customers feel special. And I think the speciality comes with a certain aspect of luxury, as I said before. At the same time, probably less volume and more a niche, if I may say niche, towards profitability.
Right. And last question, Matthias, Indian market again, when can we see it in the luxury space really exponentially growing? I mean, we've seen it in this band of, for y'all, 15 to 20,000. Yes, you've had 41% growth, but again, very small base. What are the triggers for it to really jump by a factor of maybe even 2x?
Well, again, first of all, it depends on how the market develops as such. Yeah, and we think that with our product portfolio, we will further grow double digit. And it is not up to us to say, is this big or small? For us, it is an important market. It is an important product proposition that we are offering a very interesting size. And as I said before, if certain FTA discussions would lead to a situation where taxes would come down and we would then have a proposition that we can sell more cars by pricing coming down, fine. But obviously this is up to the politicians and up to other people, and not up to me and to us to decide upon that.
Well, I think, yes, it is up to them, but I think what is very clear is that there's a lot of potential. Clearly, Mercedes growing very rapidly in this market. Again, it's held on to its leadership for I don't know how many years running, but
8
years running.
consecutive years, number
Fantastic.
one.
And I think it looks like you're not loosening your grip on that. And with that, I'd like to say congratulations on a great year in the past and now going ahead. Good 2022 and 2023, and wish you all the best. Thanks so much for talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and good luck also to the Indian people.
Thank you.